Are you looking for real, raw, and unfiltered news about what's happening in the greater Philadelphia area? Are you sick of all the vanilla takes about the local issues affecting our community right now? You're in the right place. Tune in to the Philly Face to Face podcast. We are back on the Philly Face to Face podcast, and I've got my good friend, good coworker, peer, whatever you want to call him. He's a good guy all the way around. Chris Swartz here with First Choice. So, Chris, why don't you tell everyone who you are, what you do, and what your connection is to the local community here in the greater Philadelphia area?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on the show, Tom, first of all.
Of course, buddy.
And so, again, Chris Swartz, and I'm one of the managing partners at First Choice Mortgage Advisors, and we are a mortgage broker licensed in the tri-state area here, and we help families when they're looking to purchase or refinance their home with their mortgage needs.
So pretty straightforward. I think a lot of people know what a mortgage guy does, which helps.
Yeah.
What made you want to get into the mortgage business? I mean, I sales in general and this sort of industry, I think it takes a unique person that's really going to commit to helping people. And I know that's one of the things we've talked about off air here. So tell me why, what made you decide to go into this line of work and really help push families ahead?
Yeah. So when I got into the business, I was a little bit, I guess, towards the tail end of the cowboy years, 2005. So I got into the business right before the crash. And, I was buying and selling real estate myself. A buddy of mine was doing the mortgages, and he introduced me to, the process and how it worked. And even though it was a crazy time, it was, the things that I was able to do for my family, my young family at the time was pretty awesome. And, my buddy helped me out with it and just kind of piqued my interest. I was like, wow, he's made a huge difference in my life, with what you've done here. So he was like, well, that's great because I need a partner. And, so he kind of brought me into the business. And, ever since, I got in the business, it's really, like you said, it's about helping people. And, me, kind of, with our relationship, I'm a people guy and a relationship guy. So through the mortgage business, I'm able to really get to hear people's stories, understand their needs, and then help them with, one of the biggest purchases that they'll ever make. So it's an awesome feeling to kind of go through that journey with someone.
Well, and I find the mortgage side, you're really on the journey. I mean, you're right there through every step of the way. So what are some of the the stress points or the pain points that you see people go through that you try to eliminate on a day-to-day basis? Because it's stressful buying a home. I mean, there's a lot of emotions involved. Moving is like one of the top 5 most stressful things. So
Sure.
What are some of the challenges you see happen over and over again, and how do you help people kind of get through them?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things is, first of all, when you're dealing with people's money, I think there's just automatically stress that comes along with that. So just kind of letting people know that, we do this on a daily basis. We've seen it all. We've done it all. There's nothing they can throw at us that, is going to really rattle us. So just kind of going into it even keel and just saying, hey, look, whatever you're working with, we've been able to help, with that situation before. So just kind of, and then really setting expectations is the biggest thing for us because people are anxious. They want to know, how does this work? What do I need to do? So really for us, clear communication, setting expectations, and with, really technology is a beautiful thing. So people are so busy. So we try to make the process easy. If people need to get us stuff electronically, it's not often that people are coming into the office dropping off documents like they used to. So
it used to happen a lot.
Yeah. So, so we just try to provide the tools and the communication throughout the process to make everyone feel comfortable.
So, I think in our industry, I know this happens. I'm sure it happens with you guys as well. You get kind of the opposite where people way overpromise and they totally underdeliver. So how do you manage expectations with consumers? Because there's so many emotions involved when you're buying a home. And a lot of times you're on the good side of that. When they're buying a home, it's exciting, like that they're finding a new place to live. I know when you're on my end of it, like selling, I mean, sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's really, there's a lot of problems involved.
Get, right?
Well, and the situation, I mean, it's not always like a happy purchase. So what are some of the ways you kind of help manage those emotions? I mean, it sounds like you're pretty even-keeled and you're a calm guy, which I'm sure helps. What are some of the ways that you kind of see consumers maybe get trapped a little bit when they talk to the wrong person?
So what we do is, we really set expectations. And the biggest thing for us is we have a team approach because you can't do it all. And that's one of the biggest, things where I think there's some really, great people that I know and have come across in the business that they just get overwhelmed and that you try to do it all and some things slip through the cracks. So we have a team approach and everybody backs each other up. My team lead, she's licensed, qualified to structure up a loan and answer those types of questions just as well as I am. So really making sure that we're there, when people need us is the biggest thing. And again, setting the expectations of, what we're going to do throughout the process, who they're going to be in contact with. Those things, those really simple things are huge. And that's really what we do best is, we set the expectations and let everybody know who's going to be involved, who they're going to be hearing from. Because, if you don't do that too, and you have somebody just calling and saying, oh, hey, yeah, I need to get that updated Social Security card from you. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Who are you? Why are you calling me? Yeah. So people are really, nervous when you're dealing with their financials. So, letting them know who's involved up front. We have some technology that we use. We have some videos that we'll send out so you can actually see the team since most people aren't going to come into the office and meet us. So we like to, do a lot of that stuff and just, make sure everybody knows what to expect.
You said something really interesting there, and it's something I'm clear on, is that a team always outperforms an individual in terms of there's some things I'm sure you're not good at and other things that you're great at, right? I'm the same way, and I'll be the first one to tell you. So the jack-of-all-trades approach really doesn't work anymore, especially how specialized things are and how fast the market moves. I mean, sometimes you got to turn these things around like the same day.
Absolutely.
It's impossible for one person to do it all.
Yeah, and that's, as we sit here and tape this podcast, right? I mean, the business, everybody's not just like,
phone's still ringing.
Yeah, I'm not going to buy a house for the next 2 hours because Chris and Tom are taping a podcast, right? And the speed at which, people want information and they want a response, it's been so compressed. Getting back to someone a couple years ago within 24 hours, like, you were on it. You were the man. Now you've got like 5 minutes. Like, but if you don't, respond to the email, they're going to call or they're going to text. So how do you manage that? And, if you're an individual and you can manage that without a team, reach out because you're
I'd love to see that guy or that gal. For sure.
It's just so hard with the speed at which business moves today to do it all and be a jack of all trades.
For sure. Well, and I think that's the way business has changed a lot. It's a team approach across the board, at least with the people that are delivering high results and keeping their consumers happy and making them come back for repeat business. So, a couple market questions for you here. So, and this wasn't one I sent you because we prepped a little bit like we always do. So the Fed just came out and said they're not going to rate. They're holding steady on the rates.
Right.
So what's that mean for the market right now?
Obviously it's a great thing. We want to see, a little more inventory, of course, on the real estate side. But with the rates, heading into this year, the Fed was hiking rates, and there was all this talk about, rates are going to continue to rise. And then this year hit, and all of a sudden we've got rate cuts. We've got the Fed coming out with a completely different, sentiment on the market, on inflation. So it's a great thing right now for people that are looking to take advantage of, refinancing, saving some money, and then buying a home. I mean, your purchasing power is increased if rates are low. So it's still a good time to go out and buy because, with rates being where they are, it's just more house you can buy. And Tom, as you know, home prices are up.
Yeah,
so,
they are. And, what we've seen happen actually is when rates ticked down a little bit a couple months ago, we had buyers all of a sudden they were stuck at a number on a home, and then they could go up a little higher and make a deal on a property they really wanted. So, and buyers always look up to the maximum amount they can afford anyway in most cases. And afford doesn't mean qualify. Afford means we're comfortable with this payment for our family, right? So I see that as being a huge thing as well. When buyer affordability's up, especially with what's been going on with prices and inventory levels. That's the big challenge, is that you're competing on a lot of these homes. So I do see that helping buyers as well. And, we'll see where the Fed's at in another 6 months. This time last year, everyone thought rates were going to be like 5% by now, 5.5%.
Yeah.
I mean, and they were very wrong across the board. So what do you see long term? I mean, do you see the Fed continuing with this, or what's your take on the interest rate policy?
I think rates are going to hold pretty low overall. I mean, if nothing else, it's an election year, so
that creates a lot of hesitation.
It does, but I also think that we'll have to keep an eye on inflation, right? The Fed says that they're not concerned. There's other market analysts that beg to differ. So if they can keep that under control and truly the outlook that they're forecasting is comes to fruition, I mean, I think we're going to see this low rate environment, throughout, the rest of heading into 2020. So, I mean, I don't know that we'll stay at these levels. I would, expect, we might see a little bump up. But again, when you're in the threes and you bump up a little, it's not that bad.
They're still the lowest rates in decades.
Right.
I mean, before, like, they had much higher rates when you and I were born. So I mean, this is historically low numbers here. So great feedback there from someone in the industry, because I know that's a big question that's on everyone's mind right now. So one of the things we've talked about personally, and one of the reasons why we started working together is your focus on relationships and not necessarily who maybe is the best at certain things, because I think you could dispute that in any industry, who's the best at selling real estate, who's the best at financing, who's the best at title, the working relationship.
Right.
And not only with the people that you work with in the transaction, also the customers. So talk to me a little bit about that, because I find that today a lot of relationships are almost faceless, and
Sure.
this is something where the consumer is looking for more.
Yeah, and that's one of the another question you sent me will probably tie into this, but one of the challenges in this industry and in the way that we do business now, it's a faceless,
Yep.
It can be a faceless industry. What's my rate? And completely transactional, and you can get through the process with some companies without even building any relationship. That's not how we build our business.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a place in the market and a consumer that's okay with that, but ultimately, this is a relationship business. It's a people business, and you're buying, arguably one of the biggest things you'll ever purchase.
Yeah, for sure.
And finance. I don't know about you, but I want to see the guy or the girl that's going to help me out with that, and again, I'm not necessarily going to go into their office and shake their hand and sit down and ink sign papers. I know that's really crazy, right? But if I get a little video, and for those of us that are in the industry, a little bomb video,
Yep.
which is just a little 30-second to a minute clip that just kind of introduces myself, my team, puts a face to a name. It's just a different experience. People know who you are. They can relate to you, and for us, that's really important. And I know, for a lot of consumers, that's really important, and they're not getting that because everybody wants to be bigger, better, faster, automation.
Yep.
We use a lot of technology in our business, but there's some places where we just have to pump the brakes, and we won't sacrifice the relationship for it.
So I mean, I love that answer, because there's still a place for that in the market too. I mean, it's kind of blending. You got to blend the tech side, because people still want to move fast as possible. They're
Right.
still expecting that 5-minute response time or whatever you call it. But the fact you can work that in there, and you have some ways to do it. Video is a great way to do it. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously we're huge on video. We're videoing this podcast right now, so it's a great example of what we're trying to do there. So I love that answer, and it's a great way to blend the technology with the and automation with the personal relationship. So
Yeah, if I asked everyone to come in and sit down and have a cup of coffee with me to go over things, it's just not realistic in the way
people probably don't want to do that either. I mean, that's some consumers, they don't want that. They're happy to have a conversation on the phone, maybe meet or do something. But there's people. I don't know about you. I've never met them before, and I've sold their home for them just because that was how it worked. They were living down in Texas or they're somewhere else, and you can still build a relationship. You have to know how to do it if you're not going to get actually face to face with somebody.
And we do, one of the cool things that we do is, we'll try to do, some get-togethers and some events, throughout the year to bring our clients together at a time that's more convenient, less stressful. They've already settled. Maybe there's a little barbecue or something that we can get together to continue that, because I always, I joke with people and I say, okay, now you're in the family, right? The mafia, they're part of my mortgage family. I mean, they really are, and we treat them like that, and that's, really what we like to do.
Well, I mean, that's important in any business, because if the service just isn't there, and with all these big box lenders, and you said bigger, faster, stronger, that's not going to happen. A lot of times they drop the ball anyway, and then there's no personal responsibility because you're dealing with 10 people with a company versus you and your partner who, really you take the responsibility for what happens, which is great. So speaking of that, I know you had told me a couple times you're part of like a mastermind group. So maybe for everyone who's watching, if you want to explain what that is, because I know what it is, but I don't think a lot of people do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then where you get like value from that, and how that's helped you with your business.
Yeah. So, right now, I mean, I've been involved in mastermind groups for a while. What it is it's essentially people, typically, can be within your industry or outside of your industry, that are just really, holding themselves accountable, operating at a high level, and already achieving certain levels of success in their respective areas of, expertise. So the beauty of a mastermind group is you're able to shortcut a lot of your learning curve for whatever it is you're looking to do. If you're looking to grow your business, if you're looking to be, better improve your process and your systems, if you're looking at technology, if you can plug in with high-level people that are already doing this, that are willing to share, and you're willing to share the little nuggets or information that you have, you can really just, accelerate your growth, and eliminate some of the challenges that would come along the way of trying to figure all this stuff out yourself. You're just simply aligning yourself with really great people that have an abundance mentality.
Abundance mentality I love, because a lot of people think success is finite and there's not enough to go around, and that's probably not the right kind of person for this environment. So let's say someone's watching right now and they've got a business and they're trying to push it forward, and there's no handbook, right? There's
not at all.
Not what I do, not what you do. I mean, it's like people kind of know how to do the job. That's where the training is, but it doesn't. Scaling a business and doing the job are two very different things. And so if someone's trying to plug into that network like that, what steps should they take? Because I know this is something a lot of business owners struggle with, especially small business owners. I mean, and you can look like doctors' practices or things like that, because it's no different for them. They just have a different business.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the first step is you don't want to reinvent the wheel. So you can, look out there within your industry. I'm specifically involved now in a mastermind group that's, is focused, and it's specifically mortgage loan originators. So it's either, company owners or, loan officers that are producing at a high level, been in the business for a while, and we all share strategies and ideas. So, look out there if you're a business owner to see if there's a group that already exists that you can plug into and become a part of. And if there's not one out there, you can reach out to some of your colleagues, and this is where that abundance mentality comes in, especially if you're running like a local business. Let's say you're an electrician, whatever. And you can't look at it as, all right, well, I want to start a mastermind group, but I don't want Joe down the street to know what I'm doing, so he can't be in my mastermind group. Like, you've got to have.
There's a lot of that happens. There's a lot of that happens.
Right, and because you never know what you can learn, from the guy down the street, and vice versa. And there's always enough business to go around, and people are always going to work with people that are doing the right things, that are taking care of them. So if you're doing the right thing in your business, you have no competition. I mean, you're your competition. So reach out if you can't find one of these mastermind groups to plug into that already exist. Create your own. Reach out to some people that you want to surround yourself with, and see if they'd be interested in getting together. Once a week, once a month, sharing ideas and strategies. It's been a game changer for me.
Well, and you talk about the cadence of the meetings, which I'm clear is really important, because if there's not structure around it, then it's easy to become friends instead of like mastermind group partners. And it can be both. I'm not saying that shouldn't be the case. What I love that you said there was your only competition's yourself. And what came to mind was the 80-20 rule. You've probably heard of that before, where there's a certain percentage of the industry that does the lion's share of the business. So 20% of the industry does 80% of the business. And what a lot of people don't get is that the people that are affected, it's not the ones that are working hard, trying to get better, trying to do right by consumers. It's the ones that don't know what they're doing, don't commit to the work. Those are the people where the business comes from, that you can like gain market share if you want to look at it that way, and that's doing right by the consumer. And so I think that's a really important just point to acknowledge here, because a lot of people don't get that. And the other thing I want to get your take on this is you end up sort of modeling the 5 or 6 people you spend your most time with. So have you ever had to kind of evaluate your peer group and go through that or change things out? Because, I mean, obviously you're committed to building something here. You're committed to a lot of stuff from our conversations.
Sure.
And there's probably a reason why we're sitting here doing this, because like usually attracts like. So,
yeah, I mean, just to answer your question, absolutely. I mean, I started in the business, with a certain group of people, and and I've since moved on, and they've moved on, and you kind of evolve, and you find the people that you want to align yourself with. And there's nothing wrong with any of the people that I've worked with throughout the years, but you just grow, and sometimes people go in a different direction. They have different your values aren't aligned, or your where you want to go, and so that's okay, because one of my mentors, he always shared with me, because I struggled at a point in my career where I was around some really awesome people, just great people, and but I wanted to take my business to a certain level, and and I was a coach at the time, and he said, well, the team that you have around you that got you from 5 to 6 deals a month is typically, it's not going to be the team that gets you to the 10 to 12, and if you're trying to go to 20, you can scale that. So it's hard to to realize that, and to lose. Wow, you know what? These are my my good friends, my colleagues, coworkers, but they're just not going to be the team that gets me to the next level. So you always have to be evaluating the people that you surround yourself with, and make sure that your values and your mission and your vision are aligned, so that you're heading in the right direction, because otherwise you can stay stuck for a long time with some really good people.
So one of my mentors is Tom Ferry, right? And he says it all the time. What got you here isn't going to get you there, and that's a hard thing to think about. I mean, it's hard because there's people involved. It's not always as easy as like, okay, I want to increase my business by X%.
Right.
See you later. I'm
yeah,
out.
You're out. Right? You're out. You're in. Let's go.
It's like that. So it just doesn't work that way. So that's a hard thing to do. So so one of the things one of the reasons why I was kind of we've been connecting a little more, which is kind of a weird thing, is commitment to health and vitality. Right. Sure. So so I think you were on my Facebook page or something, and you're like, hey, how did you meet this person? It was a Peloton instructor. And I'm like, well, I ride all the time. And if you guys follow me, I mean, you see like that, I post that like every day. And it's more about the commitment of having to do it every day for me. So talk to me about your commitment to health and vitality, because I find it's very difficult to find someone that's having a high level of success in whatever they're doing if they're not committed to their health and vitality. So talk to me a little bit about that, and like maybe if something, like a change or a breakthrough or that lightning rod moment where you really started committing to that a lot more, because you work out a lot, and I mean that's one of the things I think we've like bonded over this in a crazy way, and that's what happens. So
and just as you and I kind of connected a little bit more through that, as I surrounded myself with bigger thinkers, more successful people, and it didn't matter. The funny thing was, it didn't matter what industry it was. It's like this common thread of people that are just, investing in themselves, and, health and vitality just seemed to be a common thread. And for me, there was a point where it was just like, oh, I'm busy, I'm stressed, I've got, I got the kids at home, the wife,
and that's everybody, by the way. That's, I go through that too. So.
Yeah. So I had all the excuses that, like you said, we all had, like, to me, these excuses were powerful. They were my, but you know what? We all have them. I wasn't any different.
Yeah.
It was just an excuse. So, the health and vitality for me, I looked around in my sphere and I saw, well, everybody's, investing in this. So it was a slow process for me to get started, and then as I did it, just the amount of mental clarity and energy that I had, it was like a drug. It was like, okay, well, now I see why these people do this, and how they're able to actually, you invest a little bit in yourself, whether it's early for you and I, it's early in the morning. but wherever you fit that time in, and it just actually enables you to just have so much more energy and clarity throughout the day. So, I mean, especially in our industry, it's stressful, right? We talked about you're dealing with
Crazy stuff happening all the time.
yeah. So if you're not on your A game, and you're just sluggish and you're just getting through the day, and it's really it makes it that much harder. And once I made the switch, it was easy for me to say, okay, I want more of this, less of that. It's you just got to get started with it, and I'm sure we've all heard this. But I share this all the time. You have to take care of yourself before you can take care of anyone else. And it goes back to the airplane model, right? When the mask drops down, what do, right?
Put your mask on first, right?
Put your mask on first. So you've got to be investing, and in your health and vitality. I mean, so you can take care of the people around you that need you.
Great answer, and I it's more the commitment every day. I mean, that's the fun part about it, and there's something about having people that are committed to that too. And then you're getting up, and it's 6 a.m. and you don't feel like doing it, and then you're at the end of the ride, you're like about to vomit and you're dry heaving.
Why'd I do that?
It's pretty crazy, but it's it's a journey sometimes too. So and I'm just now, and I find myself. You talked about evolution, like it's not just the working out part. I'm looking at like, okay, I need to start drinking like celery juice for gut health, and like how do I get smoothies ready for the whole week? And like, I mean, it just doesn't stop there. And the more you commit to it, the deeper you go. And then all of a sudden, it's really changing the kind of person you are on a daily basis. So
yeah,
very cool. So you got your own podcast. Talk to us a little bit about that. The Fuel Podcast. I was lucky enough to be a guest on there. Pretty cool setup you had there. I enjoyed it. So talk to us a little bit about that and maybe how people can connect with you.
Sure. So the Fuel Podcast is, for me, so FUEL is an acronym for Foundations Under Extraordinary Lives. So I know FUEL's like
and you had me on.
I did. We make exceptions every now and again. No, but it gives me an opportunity to have people such as yourself on the show. Because it's we talked about this on the show. I mean, you don't just become the number one Remax agent, in the area overnight. Like you're doing certain things that put you in a position to win every day. So being able to sit down with people, whether it's in business, whether it's helping others and through nonprofit work, that's what we love to hear that story, and we've kind of coined the phrase the fuel story. We want to hear your fuel story, and as we talked about earlier, I'm a people person. I love connecting. I'm a relationship guy. So what better way to do that than start a podcast, right? So now I can have people on selectively that I want to hear their story. And not only do I want to hear it, but I think that the people listening are really going to get some value out of it so that it impacts their lives. So it's a ripple effect, and that's the whole point in Fuel, is that you're able to share these stories and have that ripple effect.
Very cool. And you've had some really cool people on there. I mean, it's not just real estate leaders. It's there was recently had the woman running the charity. I mean, and some other people that have had it's not just the story behind him. To me, is probably the most important thing. I mean, you had Tony on. I know Tony pretty well, and I mean, he's got a crazy story that I think people need to hear because it when someone hears someone does that, maybe they have something similar going on. Or they went through some other struggle and they can't always break through. So it can be really inspiring just to see someone else doing it, and that'll help them kind of take it to the next step. So. Couple questions here about the market as we wrap up here,
and you can check that out at thefuelstory.com.
Yeah, and so how does someone connect with you, Chris? Like, what's the best way? Like, is it like, are you like an Instagram guy? Do you like it on social?
Yeah, I mean, you can you can always, and again, if you want more on the Fuel Podcast, thefuelstory.com.
Okay.
You can see all the episodes. You can see all the links to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, and then you can always find me on social. The Christopher Swartz team at First Choice Mortgage Advisors is you'll find me on Facebook there. So just put it in. You'll find me, and you can connect through anyone through social or through the website.
Good stuff. So as we wrap this up here, 2020 is on the horizon. What's your take on the real estate market? What do you see happening as we head into the first quarter? We talked about rates a little bit. Let's go a little deeper.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I think rates are probably going to hold steady where they are. And, I think we'll also continue to see the inventory challenges that we're having. I don't know what's going to come into the market in the short term to fix that. I think that's a challenge that's just going to remain. It's going to be, a seller's, a little bit more of a seller's market, not more than this year, just in general. Continued. So you really, I think, if you're out there and you're going to get ready to start looking, you got to be ready.
100% agree with that.
Because it is, and you have to be working with a professional. Because I have so many people that come to me in the mortgage process, and they, their brother, cousin, sister's aunt, whatever.
Yeah. Everyone knows somebody.
Yeah, everybody knows somebody, and it's just a tough, it's a tough market. So if you're looking, and I think you're going to see this heading into next year, the inventory challenges are still going to be there. Rates are still going to be low, so the buyers are still going to be ready to, and be out there. So you need to put yourself and align yourself with a professional so that when those houses come on the market, you're ready. Because, we're right around holiday time. Cousin Eddie, he's not going to get you in that house.
He's cleaning out his RV.
Yeah,
right?
So, if you want to, get in there, you need to be working with somebody. Not only that, I'm sure you see this, when you're running a big team, people are coming to you with, stuff that hasn't hit the market, just stuff. And so you got to be ready. I think that's what we're going to see a lot of heading into next year, a very similar market.
So I agree. The inventory challenge is one that's not changing anytime soon.
No.
And what we've seen happen is that people are staying in their homes longer. The average homeowner, Redfin had some data that came out a couple weeks ago. They're in their house 13 years. A decade ago, that was 7. That's almost double.
Yeah.
And really, the baby boomers aren't relinquishing properties like people thought. They're staying longer, and they're talking about the silver tsunami. If you follow the news at all, where eventually we're going to see inventory spike, but that's like years down the line. That's not going to give any sort of immediate relief here. So that's going to be the challenge for buyers. It's the nice part for sellers. The only good thing, like you said, for buyers is that rates are still low. So at least you're not getting banged with a higher payment.
Right.
The payment's locked in. It's securing the property is really the challenge. So,
and I think that's why some people are staying in their homes longer as well.
They don't know where they're going to go, and that's it's the chicken or the egg approach, right? Like, okay, I'm going to sell this home. Where am I going to go to next? And the people that they're like renting for a year in a lot of cases, then finding something.
Yeah.
That downsize move, that's a big move for people. It's fun and sexy when you're moving up to a bigger house.
Yeah.
When you're downsizing, that's a lot tougher emotionally on people, and I don't think that people realize that as much. That it's you raise your family there, and you do all. There's emotions involved, and that to me is the harder move, no question about it. So sounds like we're seeing the same thing. Well, brother, appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
I'll
always
see you
a
on
pleasure.
the Peloton bike tomorrow at 6 a.m.
6 a.m. Be there. Anybody else that wants to join us?
Yeah, we're there.
Ready.
We're there.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure, coming out and connecting.
Thanks, Chris.
Yep. All right.